It's Mr. Burley at the York Catholic District School Board. This is our fourth tutorial in this series with the floor layout of this particular house. Small little beach house. Today what I'm going to show you, or this lesson what I'm going to show you, is how to add the blocks, how to put in the sink and how to put in the stove and so on. Not all this stuff, but I'm going to show you all these things here. This is the fun part. This is where you start putting things in and realizing, hey, that's not going to work. You know, these things have to be moved. There's not enough room here for this. This is where the design phase really, where you, if you were an architect or an architectural engineer, you'd be working with your customer and working through these different little problems. There's a couple of problems I found as I started playing with this a little earlier today, and I just left it just so I could show you how things arise. So this is our building here. So the first step I want to do is I want to bring in the stove or the range, I guess, and the fridge. A couple of things you have to consider when you're doing that is sizes. You know, if you put a fridge in, or say the range in here, and you have an opening in your nice granite countertop to fit that range. Well, what happens if that range is a funny size and it fails in a year or so, and the customer has to go then buy a new one and it doesn't fit that? It can pose a big problem. So there's a couple things you can do in your background, especially if you're designing houses, is you have to take these things into consideration. You want to find out what is the standard size of the stoves and how much. When I say standard size, something's 36 inches, maybe it's 36.5, maybe 36.5, or maybe it's 36.2. There's variation in manufacturing. So if you were to make it exactly 36 inches, it may or may not fit in your location. So it's a good idea to add a little buffer. So the first step would be definitely is go out and do your research and find out what's the standard sizes of all these stoves and fridges. So I want to make sure they fit in. And more importantly, if you're working for a company and building a whole bunch of houses, and you're putting the fridge in as part of the package, and then you find out that, hey, I can't buy that fridge any longer, the company went out of business, or whatever the case, you need some flexibility there. So what I want to show you now and talk about now is how this new process takes place. So first of all, let's do the new layer thing, and we're going to go new layer, and I'm going to say kitchen blocks. And blocks, we learned in the last one what that is all about. We're going to double click that. I want to make that active, and for now I can leave it white. You can change any color you like. So let's go ahead and bring some blocks in. So we're going to go insert, and then we're going to go to the design center. Now this version of AutoCAD comes with a few things. There's an actual architectural AutoCAD. So if you guys went into engineering down the road and you're working in the AutoCAD, in the architectural field, the design center would be much more extravagant, a lot more things. One thing I want to say is, so design center. Now, when you get to the design center, it may not be open. It may look something like this, or maybe even like this. So you go into the folders option, you click on sample, it drops down. Then you go to EN, US, and then we're going to go to design center, and we can make this bigger if we want. Whoops. Go down to the design center, and there's all kinds of cool stuff in the design center. It's if you were doing electrical, or if you were doing all sorts of stuff. There's not just what we're going to use. But today we're going to use, for our purposes, I'll just show you here. We have house designer. We have all kinds of stuff under the blocks there, bathtubs and sinks and windows and so on. We have kitchens, which we're going to use, and we have landscaping. So we have blocks with trees and clumps and hot tubs and all kinds of stuff. So there's lots of neat little things in here. So we're going to go to the kitchens. We're going to go to blocks, and we're going to grab the first thing I want to do is, where's the kitchen refrigerator? Right there. I want to grab the fridge. I'm going to double click it, and up this box comes. And in here, we're going to specify on screen. We're going to tell it where to put it. Okay. We're going to leave the scale as it is, because it should be right on the right size. And the rotation we're going to rotate it when we get it on the screen. You can do that here right now too if you wanted to. You could say, okay, rotate 180 because you can see the handles are the wrong way. Or you can wait and do it on the screen. I'm just going to wait and do it on the screen. So we get into here, and there it is. And I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say rotate. And I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees, enter. Now, so it's going to come down in here. Now, if it jumps, if I click it, so right now it's going to jump here, or it's going to jump here, it might jump to the bin point. It's not going to go where I put the the cursor. And the reason that is we have the snap turned on. So if we come down here and we turn object snap off, then we can free float it anywhere we like. So one of the first things I thought of today when I was putting this down in here is that door is swinging open. So first of all, we can't push the fridge right up against the wall. We know that because it has to have an air gap behind it to cool. So there's things to think about. We also have to think about this door swinging open and hitting our brand new fridge. So the door handle is typically in here. I'll show you in a second. Let's put it in here. We want to roughly put it in. I'm doing it arbitrarily. If you were doing this as a serious designer, you would put a line parallel to this 2 inches out, or however far you wanted that fridge out from, and you'd position the fridge accurately within the drawing. For our purposes today, this is fine. I'm just going to go something along these lines here. Now you can see one of the things you may or may not think about, and this is what happens in the design phase, and these are things that come up. Customers might find it, maybe you find it. If this door swings open when that door is open, it's going to dent because you're going to have the thing here, the door handle. Now, the typical time this door is going to be closed, right? So this is open and close, open, close, open, close, no problem. The real thing you have to worry about, I'm thinking, is this door swinging open and hitting my fridge. But so typically a door handle's about 3 inches in. So if we go back to the home and measure, and you zoom in, you can measure from, oh, see it's not grabbing now, that's because I got the snap turned off. So snap it, come back, and there's 3 inches in. So you can see the door handle be out here somewhere, so it's not going to hit my fridge. Now there is the possibility though that this door can swing open when this is open, so you might want to consider that in the design. Maybe the fridge goes over a little further, maybe we have a little part of a bench here or whatever, some sort of gap that may come up. Or there may be a way to limit that door. Maybe you put a door stop right down in here so it can't swing out any further. Maybe there's cheaper alternatives like that rather than redesigning the whole thing. But nevertheless, what I'm talking about is this is where the design really comes in and you start becoming dynamic and start thinking about these things. Okay, so now I'm going to come up here. Again, cognizant of the width of this. I'm going to come over here now and let's go back to the inserts and let's go back to our design center. And this time let's grab a range right here. And we're going to have to swing that 90 degrees, as you can see. Double click it. And we're going to say, where do you want to put it? Well, I'm going to specify on the screen. I'm going to leave those two things blank, and I'm going to go like that. I minimize this, and here's my range. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go rotate 90 degrees, enter. Now, again, I'm arbitrarily replacing this, some location. Now, you know we had a wall down here somewhere with what I think was a garbage can in here, and then presuming you would want a little bit of space here, workspace beside your range. So your customer might say to you, I want 1.5 feet there because that's where I usually prepare, with chopped lettuce or whatever the case may be. So you'd work again with the customer on this particular situation. Stove can't go right against the wall either. There's always going to be a gap because there's an electrical plug on the back of it that won't allow it to shove right up against the wall. So you would have to look at that. That's all these little details you have to really look at. So we're arbitrarily placing things just as we're learning right now, but just wanted you to be aware that these are things you have to consider, right? How far does the plug stick out? How far can I push it in against the wall? These kinds of things. So I'm going to put it somewhere. Let me just back up a second and let me go. I don't know how far down this was. I'm just going to pretend it was this far. I don't really know. And I'm going to say it was 2 inches down. So 2. And then I'm going to put a line here. Your line, you'll already have that. I don't have mine. So now when I go back to bringing it in, insert, design center, range. Okay, exit out of that. Right click. Rotate it 90 degrees, enter, and I can put it somewhere in here. Now I'm going to assume that I should have done a line parallel from here to here, say 1.5 feet. I'm just going to put it in arbitrarily right that. Now you see how it jumps back down again? Why is it doing that? And this is going to happen to everybody because you have to turn this off again. Okay, so while I'm out of that, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go line. I'm going to turn this back on. Snap on. I'm going to come into here and I'm going to come down this way 1.5, 1 foot 6 inches here, and I'm going to come out 2 feet because that's the width. I know that's how far I want to go out. And I want to go back to there like that. So that's a little, so in here, this is going to be like a granite workspace, and underneath would be storage, of course. So now I'm going to turn that snap back off, go back into my insert, design center, range, okay, get out of here, and right click and rotate 90 degrees, enter. And another thing I want to show you, I'm going to zoom in. Again, I'm arbitrarily positioning this. You would want at least, because again, like I told you, there could be variation stove to stove. So if there's 50 stoves made, they're not all going to be exactly the same width. There's going to be slight variation, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. Don't know what that industry does, but you want to be aware of that. So it's a real good idea to go back one more time, and just going to backtrack, is you want at least an inch, I would say, between your stove and your granite countertop. As I said, you don't want to have to go back in and cut the granite countertop because it doesn't fit with the new stove. So let's go 1 inches, come back out here. I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to touch that, go here and here. And now I have a 1 inch gap. Actually, I don't need that particular line right there. I can delete that. This is just to position my stove. Now I know when I bring my stove in, I have a 1 inch gap in there, which is a smart move. I know because I went through this with our particular house. It was quite frustrating, actually. So 90 degrees, enter. Take off the snap. And I didn't take the snap off early enough. Live and learn. Take your snap off. Right click, rotate 90. All right, so we're going to come in here now. This video is going to be a little bit longer because we have lots of stuff to cover. So now I can come in, and I'm not going to turn my snap on because I don't want it jumping somewhere. So the snap is in fact off, you can see. So I'm going to come up here, and but I do want to button it up against that line because that's my safety line. And again, the distance out from the wall this way, you have to measure the plug. You might want to go to a couple of different models and say, well, how far out does it have to sit? So there we have it. Stove's in position, nice accurate position. Same thing here. You want to put another 1 inch gap here. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to leave those the way they are, and we're going to put in our countertop. So we're going to come in here, we're going to layer properties, add a new layer, and we're going to call it counter. Countertop, we're going to make it active. I'm going to leave it white, and I turn my snap back on. And I'm going to come in here, and I want to have a 1 inch gap between here and here, and I also want to have a 1 inch gap between here and here. Now you could, this isn't locked in as much. If you had to push your fridge over a little bit, you'd get away with that. But it's still a smart idea, I think, to have a little bit of a gap, and certainly your customer will think about that. So now I want to create a line. I'm going to use the edge of the stove as an example. I'm going to go 1 inches this way. I'm going to come out to here. Now, that's my guide on how far away from my stove is going to be. That looks like bigger than an inch. Maybe I made a mistake there. Let's just double check something. I think I went bigger than 1 inch. Okay, so I think I went 1 foot, 1 inch. There you go. That looks better. Now, I'm just going to use that as a reference. So now I can start to put my countertop on. So I can go line, and I'm going to grab this guy here, and I'm going to go back into there, position that. And now I'm going to use that position there to bring my countertop forward. So I'm going to go like that. It leaves my 1 inch gap, and the countertop, you probably want it to come out to at least the end of that stove. Or sometimes, I notice our stove sticks out a little bit further. Typical countertop, at least on our place here, is 2 feet. So the countertop, you can see how far that's going to come out. Now that might come up again in a conversation. Maybe your customer says, listen, I don't want my stove. So again, those details down the road. Just want you to be aware that now I can go back in here and I can delete this guy here. He was only construction. He was only helping me out. Now I'm going to go line tool, come down here, and I'm going to bring it right down to there. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to create a little line out 1 inches and back to there. Zoom in to there. Good. And now I'm going to use that line from there forward 2 feet, and I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to lock him on here. There you have it. So there's a nice 1-inch gap here, nice 1-inch gap here. Again, things to think about, right? So now I want to come in and I want to delete this right here because I don't want that. So I'm going to trim. I'm going to trim here and trim here. And I'm going to hit the enter key and I'm going to delete that. Boom. Whoop. There you go. There's my countertop, granite countertop. Little granite countertop here, little granite top here. Now, let's put the sink in, and then once we're finished the sink, we're going to put in the cupboards. Okay, so sink. I'm going to go back to layer properties. I'm going to go back onto in kitchen blocks because that's what I'm working on now. And I'm going to come into the insert design center. I'm going to take off of the snap again because I want to put this. This is the same thing. I'm going to double click this, click OK. I'm doing the same sort of thing. I'm arbitrarily putting it in position. I keep using that term, but you wouldn't arbitrarily just pop this into a position. This would be in a perfect position. Probably a little bit discussed with your clients. Where do they want it? Well, she or he wants it right directly in front of the window so they can look out on the lake. Maybe they want it over here because they want to use it as much counter space as possible. This would all come up in the conversation. And so this would be put in an exact position. The way you would do that is construction lines and position it. We're not going to do that. I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm going to assume, rotate it 180 degrees because you can see it's the wrong way. I'm going to assume that the customer wants it right in front of the window so that they can watch the boats go by as they're doing preparing for dinner. So I'm going to click that, and there we have it. There's our kitchen done. So this is how, this is how it takes place, and a little bit of back and forth. And again, maybe you're going to draw the exact customer's one in. Maybe you're not just going to use a random block. And same with might be the same condition here. Maybe it's a different one and they want their exact model in there. Not a big deal. So now we're going to go to the home position. We're almost done here. Layers, add a new layer, and we're going to do the cupboards. And we're going to double click it, and let's make it green. You would also start to develop your own colors for your own things. And a lot of times I would imagine companies would have their standards. They wouldn't just change it depending on how the AutoCAD operator felt that particular day. But here's what I want to show you. The cupboards are basically 12 inches. So you would have a set of cupboards running all the way down here, for sure, and obviously above this, and you would have the ventilation unit here, but you wouldn't have them running across here because you got windows. And you can see by looking at the picture, I think, shows the windows, so the cupboards would be running across there. That's not going to work for us. So here's the other thing I want to show you. So let's start here, and let's turn the snap back on, and we're going to go here, and it's 1 foot. I measured ours. 1 foot. Now, if I walk down this way, here, 1 foot, look what happens. I don't overlap it by much, but I do overlap the window, and that would be an issue. So, because we have trim, we have a piece of trim, not just the window here, but we have a piece of trim right across here. So that would look bad. So you'd have to redesign. That's a design failure. We'd have to think of, okay, we have opportunity to shift the window. What else could we do to fix that? We could look at different opportunities to fix that. But definitely something, and this is, as you're designing, you're not just drawing pictures. This is what's happening. You're looking at stuff and thinking, oh, that's not going to work. These kind of things come up. You send these pictures to the customer, and the customer comes back and says, hey, this is overlapping. This is not going to work for me. But we're going to leave it the way it is for now. I'm not going to worry about changing it. This is just for design purposes. But I would click that there, and that would be your cupboards. Now, to show that is the cupboard, what you can do to make it nicer is you come back to your home screen, hatch, and we could find some sort of hatch that we could say that's our cupboard area, maybe this, and maybe 4 inches. And we come in here and put the hatch here, and we can put the hatch here, and we can also put the hatch across the top here. Okay, so now when the customer's looking at it, or a person's looking at it, you can see there's something over top there. There's your hatch, there's your cupboards. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to do now is finish up this drawing. I'd like you to go in and put in so we have some beds, and I think there's beds in there. If there's not, you can design your own very quickly. You can see how that's done. I know there's a bathroom toilet. I know there's a sink that you can grab. If you do a bed here and a bed here, you can mirror image them over here easily. Click, bang, they're both over there. So that takes care of that. We can you can play with some stuff here. You can put you maybe you want to design a little fireplace in the corner or something. So this is the last video. Well, it's not actually. There's one more video coming after this one. So let's do that. Let's finish up this, get these things done, put your garbage can in there, put your little door on there. I'm not certain. Oh, that's a fireplace. That's a wood burning fireplace right there. You can see this is a chimney. That's what that is. No, these are wood. This is wood. These are logs. So you can do a wood burning fireplace there. You can do your shower. I believe there's a shower stall in the blocks. Okay, so let's finish up that. And the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the square footage layer, so we can see how big the area is, and we're going to add on the front, this beautiful veranda out front. And I'm also going to do something that shows the different balls that can show you where the locations are. Okay,